Victory. Good morning. Forgot I should probably leave this down here. There you go. It's good to see everyone this morning. It's good to be here, right? As Pastor would say, it's better to be here than in the hospital. Unless you're praying for someone, then get over there and pray for some people. All right, cool. Well, I am excited to have everyone here. If it is your first time here, welcome to Victory. It is so exciting to have you with us. We have no expectation for you other than just to be here and be poured into this morning. But if you'd like to be a part of what we're doing here as a church and know what's going on, go ahead and fill out one of those visitor cards in the seat back in front of you. That will get you onto our mailing list so that you know what's going on in the church. And by the way, Victoria does an amazing job every month with communication and getting information about the church out there. Awesome, awesome. And a lot of people don't know, we send out a newsletter every single month. So if you're not getting those newsletters and you'd like to, you can actually write your email address on that card and we'll get you into the system there. But we do send out a lot of information about what is going on at the church and what's coming up. So if you'd like to have that information available to you, go ahead and get on the newsletter. And you can also find out about what's going on our social media platforms on Facebook and on Instagram. If you need prayer for anything this morning, as always, we have a team of people that are up front ready to pray for you in between and after the services here. A weekly reminder, if you have a cellular device, if you could just put that into a silent mode and also disable alarms that may remind Pastor that service is over. Just throwing that out there. Life groups. Hey, we got life groups that are starting next week. I'm excited about that. So if you have not signed up for a life group yet, please take time to do that. If you are confused at how to sign up for the life groups, you can go out here to our hub area and people will help you find out more about how to get connected with the life groups there. But you can go to victorymtp.com, go to the connect option, and you can find information on our life groups and how to get connected there. Sign up for a life group. They have calendars. It'll tell you when and where to show up, so it'll be awesome. We're focusing on stepping back and just having a lot of time together, not trying to put anything programmed or structured, highly structured at least, so no classes, no events like that. We're just having time where we can get together. We have some groups that are just hanging out on the river. We have groups that are hanging out around the fire, cooking out. So we're just going to hang out and build some relationships, because relationships are actually the foundation of the local church. That's how discipleship happens. Discipleship happens within the context of relationship. So make sure you're signing up for some life groups this summer. I think that is it for announcements, unless you can think of second brain. Can you think of any other announcements that I may have been? We do have Endeavor this month. 23rd, there we go. So we are back on for Endeavor this month. We're excited about that. And thank you so much, everyone, for allowing our Endeavor team to have the week off and being graceful about that. No complaints about that, which I understand some people are like, oh man, I'm going to miss it so much. That's awesome. But thank you so much for allowing a guilt-free weekend off for our Endeavor team. That's always awesome and appreciated. So, unless we have any other announcements that you can think of, okay, cool. Then we're going to get into the Word this morning. We've been in a series, We're in a series. I really appreciated someone was like, I love how much you made fun of your father for being in series, and now you're in a 18-week series. We've been talking about the 10 Commandments, and I don't know about you, I've been really enjoying this message, this series. It has been probably more refreshing for me than it's been for you. Just being able to dive in and read about these things and go in depth, it's just been a really great season of diving into the heart of God. And so when we think about the 10 Commandments here, a lot of times people in the church, we think about a list of do's and don'ts. It's a very religious attitude about the 10 Commandments. And I don't know, some of you probably still think about Charlton Heston whenever you think about the 10 Commandments, right? I talked a little bit about the first week there. My favorite line from the 10 Commandments is as he's standing there with the tablets and he's caressing them in an awkward way. And he goes, written by the hand of God. And what was funny is someone's really religious by how they say God. Okay, if they say God, they're semi-religious. But if they say God, they're very religious. And we went to a church conference, and as the speaker was talking, he kept saying God. And my friend Matt was next to me. He's like, he's really religious. This guy knows what he's talking about. So just the more you draw unto him, the longer his name gets in pronunciation. But the 10 Commandments being Decalogue, Deca meaning 10, log being logos or words, so it's 10 words that we have. And what we need to understand about the 10 Commandments is that this is an insight for us into the heart of God himself. It's not just a list of do's and don'ts. That's how a lot of people will read that. So we're going to start in Exodus 20 as we have for the past few weeks and will for the rest of this series here until we have the 10 Commandments memorized as a church. So Exodus 20 verses 1 through 17. says this, "And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery." And then he goes into the commandments. "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness or anything that is in heaven above, that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commands. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but on the seventh day it is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you, your son, your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, or your livestock, or your sojourner who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord had made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and mother, that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, his male servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's." And so let's do a quick recap. As we've been in this series now for several weeks, let's do a quick recap where it says, "You shall have no other gods before me." And the next commandment is, "You shall not make for yourself a carved image." And if you remember us talking about what are the things that have come into our lives, what are the things that have snuck into our lives that we have turned into gods? And one of the indicators that you have is in seasons of stress, what or who do you turn to? And that is your God. Whatever you turn to first when you are under stress, put someone under stress, you find out who their God is or what their God is. And this is a couple of commandments that actually covers quite a bit of ground. It could be anything. It could be a substance. It could be a person. It could be a habit. It could be a ritual. We have people that are creating false Jesuses in their imaginations to follow, to tell them what they want to hear rather than what his word says. That's idol worship just as much as you having a wooden statue in your bedroom that you bow down to on a weekly basis. When we follow Jesus, we follow the Jesus of the Bible. When we follow God, we follow his word. The next commandment was, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain." And what that means is to take the name. It's not talking simply about cursing. It's about bearing, putting on, wearing his name and his honor, his majesty in a false and empty way. And how would we do that? By professing faith in him and having zero heart to live by his word, to live by his commandments. The Bible says, Paul said this, he said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." His heart was for people to see Christ through him. That should be our goal. And then remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And some people try to get really religious about that, to where they say, well, it has to be Sunday and that has to be the day that you take off. And the people that are talking about that are actually technically wrong, because it's supposed to be Saturday. So you failed right off the bat. Good job. But the heart of this is not so much the specific day to keep it holy, but it's making sure that you have a time of remembrance that is consistent, to where you rest in God, to where God says, watch me do more with you doing less, to where you take time that you set it aside intentionally, saying, I'm going to rest in you and I'm going to remember your promises today. Because Jesus said Sabbath was not, or the man was not made for the Sabbath, but Sabbath was made for man. It's for our benefit, for us to have greater relationship with him. And honor your father and mother, which is the easiest of all the commandments. Talking about how honoring our father and mother is not time sensitive in as far as it does not expire. Just because you move out of your parents' home suddenly means that you can dishonor them as much as you want. That's not God's heart. He says, I want you to honor your father and mother in childhood and obey them. I want you to honor them when you're young adults by valuing their wisdom and their knowledge. And then I want you to honor them in their elder years as you take care of them and support them because they have taken care of and supported you. But even if they haven't, God's saying, my call to you is to be greater than that, is to honor your father and your mother. So what we see with the 10 Commandments here is, as we studied through these, we see that the first 4 are about our relationship vertically with God. The last 6 is a horizontal relationship, our relationship with others around us. And so we started into that last week with honor your father and mother, because that deals with relationships with those around us. So let's talk about the next couple of commandments here this morning that we're going to be talking about that are really easy commandments to follow with everyone around us. Exodus 20, 13 and 14 says this. So take a sip of water for a dramatic pause. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. I'm going to say this is going to be a really short service, okay? So don't kill anyone. Don't sleep with anyone who's not your spouse. Okay, let's pray and we'll go home. If only it were that simple, right? As I was writing my message this week, I had planned out the year of messages that I wanted to teach at the beginning of the year, and I just planned out the entire year, all the weeks. And as I was going through the 10 Commandments, I was trying to balance things out, and I thought, okay, you shall not murder, shall not commit adultery. I can handle these in 1 week. So I'm just going to make these 1 week, then it's not a 15-week series. I'm going to make this an 8-week series. And as I was writing my message this week, I was realizing how much a mistake that was. Because one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And I was like, man, I should have had like 2 or 3 weeks planned just for this topic. So I'm going to fit 2 or 3 weeks into one Sunday. And I plan on doing that by just going until about 2:30. So buckle up, Buttercup. We're about to go. But we read these 2 commandments, and a lot of times when we read these 2 commandments, we feel like they're very upfront, and so we gloss over them. It's okay, it's do not murder, simple, I won't kill anyone. Do not commit adultery, I can do that. Keep it in your pants, that's fine. Right? People, right? We gloss over them, and we don't think, right? You're listening now, aren't you? You were listening. So let's break down a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more in depth about what this really means. Let's talk about murder. So okay, for those of you joining us online that could not hear what just happened, there was a blood-curdling scream that just came from out in the hallway. Perfectly timed. Let's talk about murder. Can someone find out whose child that was so they can be here for the second service? That was perfect. So what does murder here means? What does it mean? Murder here means you shall not kill unjustly or premeditated. It's a very, very specific word that they're using here, is that you shall not kill unjustly or premeditated. And so there are some people who have tried to use this commandment to where they're talking about corporal punishment, they're talking about laws, they're talking about things like this, and they say, well, this is a commandment that says that we shouldn't do this. And even in this time, they had punishment for people who committed heinous crimes to where it just, you deserve death for what you have done there. In this time, they actually had sanctuary cities. This is where the concept originated, to where they had sanctuary cities, to where if you accidentally caused the death of someone else, you could go to these cities and seek sanctuary so that you weren't put to death immediately and could actually plead your case, have time for that. So they have a heart here to where here the word murder means you shall not kill unjustly or premeditated, thinking about that. And as I was preparing for this, I was looking through the shorter catechism from the Westminster the Westminster Shorter Catechism. And in question 68 here, it says this: what is required in the sixth commandment? And it says the sixth commandment requires all lawful endeavors to preserve our own life and the life of others. And so it starts giving a little bit more of a in-depth. It's not just simply don't take the life of someone else. We start seeing that it's actually a little bit of a deeper heart here, to where we need to take all lawful endeavors to preserve our own life. Okay, this is one of the reasons why the church does have a stance against suicide, is because the Bible teaches us that life, specifically human life, is sacred. We are image bearers of God, and that's not something to be taken lightly. And so that is why we should have love and compassion for those who are going through difficult seasons and dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts, because we should take every lawful endeavor not only to preserve our own life, but the life of others and those around us. See, I was just talking to my wife about this morning, actually. I feel like this is a practice that we as human beings need to get back to more often, is where we sit back and we start looking at the people around us as people. One of the curses of dense population is that we value people less and less because they're replaceable. There's so many people, so if I offend one, who cares? There's another one. There's so many people, so if I hurt one, who cares? There's more. There's so many people in the world that if I destroy one, so what? There's another to take their place. And so many times I find myself, I'm that creepy person that I would like sit in the back corner and just watch people. You know, I'm that type of person. Surprising, right? But I would sit back and I would just start thinking about, this is someone who has the same emotions that I do. This is someone, even that woman who was just rude to me because she's super frustrated and angry in life. She's dealing with issues that have been going on for years. And I was just one point of output for her emotional stress. So I start adding background, I start adding story, I start adding value to the people around me, and then I start seeing them more and more through the eyes and the heart of God. Because I start looking around and it's like there's so many hurt and broken people that need Jesus. And so I value not only just my own life, but I value the life of those around me. So it's not just killing people, but willfully allowing someone to die. I've said this before. I worked in youth ministry for many years. And it broke my heart to see how many young students that were genuinely going through emotional turmoil and had Christian adults in their life that brushed them off and said it was just hormones. I learned over the years that hormonal surges and emotions that are being driven by the changes that are going on in a young person's body can be just as deadly as any other type of depression. And so taking time out of my life to value the life of someone else who was going through a difficult time, even though I looked at the situation that they're complaining about and they're stressing about something that just doesn't seem consequential in life, but me taking time out of my life to make sure that they were okay. That's me honoring this commandment, that I'm doing everything that is within my power to encourage life in someone else. I'm glad one person got that this morning. But this is why the church stands for the preservation of life. This right here, this commandment is why. And this commandment is seen throughout the Old and the New Testament. The preservation of not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. Jesus said this. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. This is why we stand for the preservation of life. This is why Christians, this is why we love people. This is why we stand in the gap for those who are struggling with suicide and depression. This is why we don't just brush people off when they're going through a hard time. It's because we value them as image bearers of God, and we don't know where that path is leading them. And if you can step in early and divert someone from making a life-changing, forever choice of killing themselves. This is not in my notes. I feel like this is for someone in here this morning. If you have the ability to take time out of your life to value the life of someone else the way that God has commanded us, do it. It costs so little. I've had so many conversations with students to where, I remember one in particular, where God told me I was just to sit with them for the evening. And I just kept talking to him, and he kept trying to dig deeper into his depression, and I kept digging him back out. And he turned to me and looked me in the eyes and said, "You're kind of stubborn, aren't you?" And I said, "You have no idea." And years later, he shared with me that he had planned on killing himself that week. And the Holy Spirit had me sit with him and dig him out as many times as necessary to save his life. I'm not bragging on myself here, but watching that young man live for God and then turn around and do the same thing for others, that's what this commandment's about. So let's talk about more things that are not controversial in today's culture. If God has commanded us to, as it says here, not stand by willfully allowing someone to die, where does the church stand with unwanted pregnancies? At what point do we draw the line and say that's a life? Right? Because it says the Bible stands for the preservation of human life. So at what point do we draw the line and say that it is life? This is a debate that has been going on for a long time. And I've always wondered about that because the Bible is so crystal clear about this. And we have so many Christians, and I'm going to say especially younger Christians. We have a ton that are over here, so take notes and listen so that you can know where the Bible is for you and anyone who asks questions. Where does the Bible stand on this? In Jeremiah 1:5, it says this: "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations." Now, this is a word that was spoken to Jeremiah, but God is revealing more of his heart towards us as people. And this draws the line definitively for me, for this commandment, "Thou shalt not murder," that we will preserve not only our own lives, but the lives of others. God himself says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. You were a person to me. You had value to me. Before you were even born, I consecrated you for a purpose in this world." If that's the stance of God with our human life, I'm going to stand by that over anyone's personal opinion any day. So us as Christians, is it a debate? It's not a debate, it's word. And I know I'm going to have some people that are probably going to send me some messages. They're going to be questioning me on this, and I'm going to point them right back to the Bible. This is not just my personal opinion. The Bible says I'm going to do everything lawful to preserve my life and those around me. And then God himself says that before I even formed people in the womb, I knew who they were. I knew who I had called them to be. I knew their purpose, and it is greater than any purpose that you have given them. That is where we stand as a church. So like I said, it's going to be a simple morning, right? It's just talking about shall not murder, shall not commit adultery. Let's talk about adultery. If murder was that fun, let's talk about adultery this morning. So glad you came this morning. When you look at adultery, you need to understand that it is an act. Words are hard for me this morning. It is an act that not only violates the trust in that relationship, but you need to understand it actually violates the marriage covenant itself. This is another thing that I think that we have lost as a modern church, is an understanding of covenant and the strength of it in our lives. We're under a new covenant because of Christ. Because of that covenant, we can come before God and be in relationship with him. That's the strength of covenant right there. And when we enter into a marriage relationship, it is a covenant that is just as powerful. That's why a marriage relationship is actually used so many times to discuss the relationship between Jesus and his church. That's the power of the marriage covenant, and we don't value it enough. Going back to the Westminster Catechism, it states that the seventh commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery, it says it requires the preservation of our own and our neighbor's chastity in heart, speech, and behavior. That really raises the bar, doesn't it? That really raises the bar from simply, okay, all I have to do is with this commandment is not sleep around, and then I will keep this commandment and I'll be good to go. But it says it is the preservation of our own and our neighbor's chastity in heart, in speech, and behavior. Now, before I move on, I need to talk to some of the younger singles in here, because I know that you think that you have an out right now. You're just like, oh, I'm not married, so this doesn't apply to me. None of this does. You're married to Jesus, okay? So you're not exempt from this. It's the preservation of our own and our neighbor's chastity in heart, speech, and behavior. What does that mean in our heart? That you are not knowingly stirring lust and desire in others around you. I tell my wife all the time, this is why I eat so many Oreos. Because I do not want to lead any women into lustful thoughts. You're welcome, ladies. But we don't stir up anything in people's heart. This culturally is so huge right now. Everything in culture right now is to stir up lustful desire. What about in speech? You're preserving your own and your neighbor's chastity in heart and speech. That means that you are not speaking in a way that only a husband or a wife, the spouse, the way that they would speak to their significant other, you should not speak to others in that way. Men, you should not be complimenting other women and their appearance. Well, I'm just trying to be kind. Yeah, great for your heart. You don't know where that woman is in her relationship. Maybe she gets 0 words of affirmation in her marriage relationship, and you are stirring something up that should not be stirred. Women, it's the same thing with men. You're sweet talking them. You don't know what's going on in their life. You don't know what you're stirring up there. Be conscious of what you're saying and how that could be taken. Now, I'm not saying be jerks. Like, well, pastors that tell me I need to be mean to everyone of the opposite sex. I mean, if it works, okay? But be careful about what you're stirring up in your speech. And what about your behavior? Man, this is huge. I mean, I was just talking about men. You should not be going and telling other women how beautiful they are and stirring all of that up. But men, let me just talk to you about the modern sense of you're going down through Instagram and you see someone on your Instagram and you think that she's beautiful, and so you heart her picture. Shouldn't be doing that. That's not your wife. What are we doing with in our behaviors that are stirring other people up to where we're not pressing them closer into a relationship with God? We're leading them in a more desirous opinion of us. Man, this is one of the most controversial conversations I have with people all the time as I talk about the way that we dress. And it's like, well, I just look cute. What does cute mean? What does cute mean to you? Because if you boil down all of these things, it's it really comes down to, I want people to desire me. I want to be attractive. I want to look good for other people. That can lead a lot of people down the wrong path. Now, it's on both sides, right? The Bible says, I made a covenant with my eyes, and I'm not going to look, I'm not going to covet, I'm not going to desire. I made that covenant with my eyes years ago. My wife and I, we spend a lot of times where she's just scrolling through reels and we're laughing at all the silly people and all the cat videos that come through on Instagram. And instantly, as soon as a picture comes up that I should not be looking at, I turn my head away, don't I? Because I made a covenant with my eyes years ago that I'm not going to allow someone else's behavior to ruin my marriage. There's something that's on me as well. I don't place that burden on every other woman that's out there because I'm responsible for my eyes. But you know, there's some men out there that are weaker than that. So we as followers of Christ, we not only resist adultery, but we resist anything that resembles, that comes close to, or leads others in that direction. That we do not open doors. This for me is a very hard topic to talk about because I guarantee you there are so many people in this room to where you're dealing with these issues in your relationship. I know that is happening. Church, it should not be so. If we have the heart of Christ and the desire to follow after him, that we're going to follow his commandments, adultery should be the furthest thing from our relationship. And yet the Christian church suffers from this just as much as the world does. Why is that? Because these commandments have everything to do with the heart. See, what we had done for so long in the church is we focused so much on living a good moral life that we stopped focusing on the part that people are broken and sinful and they need Jesus more than they need a moral adjustment. This is where the church has gone wrong, going back to what I was talking about with the preservation of life. This is where the church has gone wrong with abortion. Is we got so focused on we need to, by law and through shame and through aggression, we need to correct this part of our culture by absolutely attacking anyone who is in the industry or has ever had this procedure done or is thinking about this procedure. We need to just browbeat them into the love of Christ. And we have ignored the root issue of culture. To where if we as Christians, we would focus on the root issue of this in our culture, we could fix the issue of abortion instantly. But we don't focus on the heart, we focus on the action, right? Same thing with adultery. We get so focused on, well, as long as they don't cheat on each other, then they're okay. But if we as a church supported our marriages properly in the early stages of argument and dissatisfaction, adultery would take care of itself because we would have a man and a woman living together in love, in Christ-like love, serving each other, loving each other as Christ loved the church. That's what we should have in our marriage relationships. But it's uncomfortable living that kind of life and that kind of accountability in the church. So we don't do it. So we focus on the action instead. But we need to understand all of these things come back to the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7 says this, but the Lord said to Samuel, do not look on his appearance. This is Samuel that was talking about David here, anointing him as king. He said, do not look on his appearance or on his height or his stature because I have rejected him. Not talking about David here. He's talking about the person that Samuel is looking at here. For the Lord does not see as man sees. Man looks on the outward appearance. The Lord looks on the heart. Proverbs 21:2 says, every man or every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart. Luke 6:45 says this, the good person out of the good treasure of his heart produces good, and the evil person out of his evil treasure produces evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. This is all a heart issue. Proverbs 4:23 says this, keep your heart with all vigilance. This is a call. This is something we need to all have tattooed across our chest, honestly. Keep your heart with all vigilance. For from it flow the springs of life. In another translation, it says the issues of life. It says protect your heart with everything you have, because that is the core. That is the root. All of these issues that we're dealing with when it comes to lust and adultery and murder and all of these things can be taken care of if we focus on heart issues first. Instead of correcting behaviors, let's introduce people to Jesus. Instead of shaming them for mistakes, let's love them and allow them to experience the genuine love and presence of God. It is a heart issue. And so Jesus actually takes these two commandments and the understanding of these commandments, and he completely changes them. I was talking with Pastor Scott the other day about this, and he said what was really cool about this is that Jesus took these two commandments that everyone thought were pretty difficult to follow already, and he made it more difficult to follow. We see this in Matthew 5:21 through 26. I'm short on time, so I'm going to buzz through these. I told you, I tried to write this in such a way I can get it done in one day, but there's just so much here. Matthew 5:21 through 26, it says, you have heard that it is said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders shall be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council. Whoever says, you fool, will be liable to the hell of fire. So if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you're going out to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge and the judge to the guard and you be put into prison. Truly I say to you, you will never get out until you have paid every last penny. So talking about anger as murder here, Jesus just upped the standard here. Because anger leads us to a desire to harm or destroy, doesn't it? When we allow anger to take root in our hearts, it breeds a ground where we want to harm, we want to destroy, we want to cause pain in those around us. And so that is murder in the eyes of God. Murder is the destruction of the life that he has put on the inside of us. And it says, whoever insults his brother, I don't like this. This is difficult. Actually, I send this verse to my sister all the time. But whoever insults his brother or says, you fool, you're driving down the road and you're angry at someone and you say they're an idiot. That's murder in God's eyes, because that is out of anger, frustration towards that person. And so you demean them as a human. You're an idiot. You're having a conversation about maybe even some of the issues that we just talked about today. I know I'm going to get messages about this and say you're a moron for feeling that way. That's murder in the eyes of God. When you insult your brother and you say, you fool, you're so stupid. How can anyone be this dense? Because I know no one in this church ever does this whatsoever. Let me just throw out another hypothetical out here that has absolutely no bearing whatsoever in our culture today. What if you have a bumper sticker that says, let's go Brandon? What if you have a sign in your yard that says, my governor is an idiot? Did I just go there this morning? I feel like I just got fired collectively. Whoever insults your brother or says, you fool, are guilty of murder in the eyes of God. That sets a whole new standard for the Christian church today, doesn't it? Then it goes on to even greater things. Matthew 5:27-30, it says, you have heard that it was said, you should not commit adultery. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman, I'm going to add this in because I believe it's just as applicable. You look at a woman or a man with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in your heart. You're already guilty. You're like, but I didn't act on it. It is your heart that matters. Then Jesus says this. This is very difficult to go through. It says, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. That's intense. For it is better that you lose one of your members than your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell. And so let's go back to the lustful intent. What does that look like? It's not simply enough to withhold from acting on our desire. In the eyes of God, us simply doing the right thing is not enough, because so much of Christianity is that I have done the right thing, my job is done. Jesus himself says that's not enough. He says, my desire is for God to come into your life and root out every lustful, evil desire that is in your heart, and then the job is done. I don't want people that just act right. I want people that are right. I don't want you to act holy. I want people that are holy. That's what he says here. 2 Corinthians 10:3-6, it says, for though we walk in the flesh, we're not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take captive every thought to obey Christ. So when I have that momentary thing to where I see a woman who's attractive, I have that instant right there to take captive that thought and obey Christ and say, I have made a covenant with my wife and my eyes that I'm going to honor her, and I'm not going to indulge myself simply because I'm a man and that's what men do. My wife on the front row, let's go. But it says being ready to punish every disobedience. What does that mean? That means that when you stumble, that you correct yourself instantly. Be ready to do that and step back onto the path that God has for you. And so when it talks about tearing out your right eye, it's like, are you literally? So I just saw something in the supermarket. I was walking down and I saw a magazine that was there, and I saw that, and it's like, I should rip my eye out. That would make the news instantly. I'm just saying. I know a lot of people, they water this down. They're like, well, Jesus was being figurative and he was just being, off the edge. And it's like, I think he knew exactly what he was saying. I think what he was saying was set the standard of the lengths that you'd be willing to go to live a holy life. There are so many things in the meantime. It's like, what could I do? If I struggle with lust, there are so many men in this church, I'm proud of you. You have struggled with lust, and so you have set up things in your life. You have given away computers. You've gotten rid of phones. You've set up software for monitoring. Good for you. That's awesome. That is you taking steps before you have to rip out your eyeball. There are things that you can do. When you are tempted to be led into lust, what are the things that you need to get rid of? I know people who have completely canceled their internet and got rid of all the devices in their home because they know that this is what I have to do. That is their figurative eye that they have ripped out and cast away, because it is better for you to get rid of your high-speed internet than for your entire body to be sent to hell. What are you willing to go through and get rid of so that you can walk the life that Jesus has called you to walk? What are you willing to get rid of? Jesus knew what he was talking about. He set the outer limits. He said, look, you should be willing to go up to this. There are steps that you can take in the meantime. Let's do that first. Let us have some self-control. The fruits of the Spirit, right? One of the fruits of the Spirit being self-control, not excuses. So many Christians in this room, you operate in that fruit so well. The fruit of excuses. Well, I was just raised this way. This was the environment I was part of. My father was always angry, so I'm angry. Wrong. Your heavenly Father is not. Well, I was just raised around this stuff to where I just don't know how to control my impulses. Wrong. The Spirit that is within you has given you the ability to resist every temptation and walk according to the will of the Spirit. Stop living in the fruit of excuses and live in the fruit of self-control. Lord, I just thank you for every person that is in here this morning. Holy Spirit, I just thank you that whatever I have said this morning that was not of you, that it crumbles, it dies, it blows away into the wind. But whatever is from you, I thank you that it found fertile ground this morning, that it will bear much fruit in this church and the people that we know and love. That you will continually remind us that we're not called to act as a holy church. We are called to be a holy church. that we will not walk in anger and insults, murdering those around us in your eyes, that we will not give in to lustful thoughts and desires and so wander into adultery, God. That we will honor the relationship that you have called us to have with those around us. That we will walk according to your will and your teachings. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everyone, for coming this morning. I love you. See you next week.
What's your favorite kind of celebration? Maybe it's a pool party to celebrate the end of school. Woo! Or you might be counting down to your birthday bash. Happy birthday to me. And of course, there's always Valentine's Day. And everyone's favorite, Christmas. These are all fantastic times for celebration. But do you know who loves a party most of all? God. That's right. When God gave the Israelites laws to keep them safe, God also set aside special times for joyful celebration. It's great to celebrate big things, but we can find joy in everyday moments too. You can celebrate kicking a soccer goal. Goal! You can celebrate that you and your sister made it through the entire day without fighting. Seriously, I bet your mom would break out the ice cream to celebrate that. You can celebrate that you were brave enough to speak up and ask the teacher for help. And you can even celebrate if you got a good night's sleep. When you choose to see and celebrate what God is doing, others can see God at work in you. So let everyone know. It's time to celebrate. It's time to get it started. The party's happening here. It's time to say that joy is an amazing way to worship God with your life. Because worship is about more than just singing loud. It's all about living loud.
Party people, where you at? It's time to celebrate. It's time to get it started. The party's happening here. That's right. Turn up the music loud. Dance like nobody's watching. We got a reason to cheer. Let's go. 'Cause Jesus, your love is for everyone. We're gonna shine your light today. So come on, clap your hands and everybody dance. The party is popping, nobody's stopping. We're gonna do it right and have a good time. All for you, Jesus, 'cause you're always with us. It's time to start the party. It's time to start the party. Oh yeah. All right.
It's time to celebrate. It's time to get it started. The horn. Flashlight. Yeah. Yep. Headlamp. Perfect. Rope. Yes. Map. First aid kit and satellite phone. Okay. Oh!
Yeah! Party! Party! Wait, what are you doing? I thought we were having a party.
Yes. A search party for my missing cat. Oh, don't you ever leave me like that again. Don't you ever do that. Oh, I was so scared. But you went on a little adventure, didn't you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon.
And I'm John. Oh, and this is Giggles. All right, Giggles, we have a show to do.
So John lost his cat, but now he's found.
Yeah, seems like a reason to celebrate.
Absolutely. So we're throwing a welcome home giggles party.
We have confetti. Woo!
We have dance tracks.
Hit it. We have party games.
Woo!
Pin the tail on Giggles. Where are you, Giggles? I even made a cake.
You did?
Absolutely.
3 layers?
Is there any other?
Cream cheese icing?
Cream cheese frosting.
My favorite.
Yes, a very special fancy party cake.
Let's eat it.
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go get it.
Well, I thought you had it.
Why would I have it? This is your house, and you made the cake.
Right. Well, oh, you know what? Maybe it's still in the kitchen.
Okay.
No, it's nowhere in the kitchen. Where's the cake? Where's the cake?
We have to find the cake.
It's not under the table.
It's not under the squirrel head.
Oh, it's not behind the door.
We still haven't found your fancy cake.
No, we still haven't found my special cake.
I have searched throughout my car. I have run this sidewalk only to find our cake. Only to find our cake. We have jumped. We have flown. We have papered these power bowls. These power bowls. Only to find our cake. But I still haven't found my fancy cake. No, I still haven't found my special cake. I believe our cake will find, and all the layers we will dine. Yes, we will dine. But oh, we're still looking. But I still haven't found my special cake. No, I still haven't found my fancy cake. Where is my party cake? Where is my party cake?
Well, what do we do now?
I don't know.
What's the only thing better than cake?
Bible story time with Kellen. Hey, how's it going, Kellen?
Not bad. Oh, I see you found Giggles.
We did.
Well, that's a reason to celebrate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we can't find our cake.
You lost a cake?
Yeah, and we can't find it anywhere.
Well, I don't think I can help you with that, but can you help me with the Bible story?
Sure thing.
Great. Then let's get ready for another edition of Human Head Puppet Theater.
It's for humans.
Our story today is from the book of Luke. Jesus was talking to a bunch of tax collectors. Now, tax collectors at the time were known to be dishonest and they'd steal money from people. So, not the most loved people in Jesus' time, but Jesus still spent time with them. There was a group of religious leaders as well that didn't care for Jesus talking to people that they called sinners.
Oh, hello, all my fellow tax collector friends. Hey, how's it going? What's going on?
TPF
This is Jesus. He's going to be teaching us.
Can you believe this, my fellow religious leaders?
Is that Jesus?
Exactly. Why is Jesus eating with them? Of all people, tax collectors? Blech.
So Jesus noticed that the religious leaders seemed angry, so he told them a parable. Now, a parable is a story that has a bigger meaning than just the story itself. So Jesus told them a parable about a shepherd who had 100 sheep.
Oh, look at my beautiful 100 sheep. Yes, I have exactly 100 sheep. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 99? Well, that can't be right. Let me count again. Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 99 again. I've lost a sheep. I've lost a sheep.
Jesus pointed out that if the shepherd lost just one sheep, he'd leave the other 99 in the open country and go all over looking for that one lost sheep.
Little sheepy! Little sheepy, where are you? Oh, cardio. Sheepy! Where are you? Sheepy! Oh, sheepy! Oh, sheepy! Oh, sheepy! Sheepy! All right, I'm gonna come over there. Sheepy! Sheepy, where are you? Sheepy! Sheep, sheep, sheep! Sheepy, sheepy, sheepy! 1, 2, 3, oh! Sheepy! Sheep! Sheepy, where are you? Sheepy! Oh, 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 oh. Whew! No one will stop me from finding my one lost sheep. Oh! Oh! Ah! Tiger! Ah! Look! My one lost sheep! I found it! Oh, come here, sheep. I'll put you on my shoulders and carry you back to town. Come here. Come here, sheep. Let's, I can't really, can we just... Ah! There you are. I have joyfully put you on my shoulders. Now, let's go. What's that? Oh, I know. I love a good sheep joke.
Now, Jesus told the religious leaders that when the shepherd found his sheep, he would return home and...
Hey, I found my lost sheep! Friends!
Hello, friend. What did you say?
I found my lost sheep!
Hooray!
I've got to tell my neighbors. Neighbors!
Yes, your neighbor's here.
Oh, be joyful with me. I found my lost sheep.
You found your lost sheep. I'm happy.
Woo!
Yay! Hooray!
Hey, let's say hooray on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3, hooray!
Hooray! How long do we stay like this?
Hooray!
Oh, okay, sorry.
And that's how Jesus' story ends, with the shepherd and his neighbors celebrating that the one lost sheep was found. After the parable, Jesus said, I tell you, it will be the same in heaven. There will be great joy when one sinner turns away from sin. Yes, there will be more joy than for 99 godly people who do not need to turn away from their sins. Remember that this parable was just a story with a bigger meaning. Sometimes we, or someone we know, can be like that lost sheep, and God is like the shepherd. God will always keep looking for us when we're lost. And when we choose to turn to God and put our trust in Jesus, there will be a joyful celebration. And that's incredibly good news. Back to you guys.
What a great story.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing to think that God cares about each and every one of us.
Yeah, and God sent Jesus to save us.
It's so true. We can have joy because of Jesus.
Yeah. You don't need a special party cake to have joy.
Where is that cake?
I don't know. Reveal the question.
What does joy mean to you?
Well, to me, joy is a lot like happiness, but it's so much more. It's being able to celebrate all the incredible things God is doing in my life.
Yeah, joy to me feels like a plunge in a cold mountain stream with the sun shining on my face.
And like our story today, joy can be shared with others when something great has happened.
Now, how about you? What does joy mean to you? Talk about it together.
And we'll see you next time on The So-and-So Show.
What would bring you joy right now, John?
Cake.
All right, you know what? Let's find it.
Yes, come on. All right. I'm looking.
Throughout my car. Only to find our cake.
Oh, I just remembered. Okay, earlier I was thinking I could put the cake in my bad ideas box.
Oh, that's a bad idea.
Exactly! It was a bad idea! I found my lost cake! Be joyful with me!
Forgot where I put it in my pocket. Let's do that one more time. I had it on the inside of my pocket, which was not helpful.
Hey, everybody. Forgot I had my hoodie on.
Yep.
I'm less hungry now.
Oh, why?
No reason.
So good. Hey, just lick those. That's good cake.